Welcome you all to Believers Highest Academy, and in this today's particular video, we will be discussing about the unified lending interface of the government, which which was recently brought up, and this is a very transformative initiative as to the financial inclusion of the country is concerned. And in this particular video, we will discuss what ULI is and what are its advantages, the key features, and everything else with respect to the topic. So without any further delay, let's dive in. So why is it in news? Because the Department of Financial Services under the Ministry of Finance has recently brought up the unified lending interface, and this, in the meantime, the Department of Financial Services under the Ministry of Finance has also instructed all the financial institutions like the banks and NBFCs to roll out the adoption of the ULI, right, as early as possible, and take immediate steps in order to ensure that the implementation of the ULI scheme or the ULI program happens smoothly and as soon as possible for the people of India. So now let's understand what ULI is, right? So according to the Ministry of Finance, ULI is a digital platform which enables or which simplifies lending processes to the borrowers by the banks or any financial institutions by integrating technology, data, and policy. So this is very important. So this is also a part of India's digital public infrastructure, much like the UPI, which is India's most promising and a very exceptional example for digital public infrastructure. Even ULI is pretty much the same thing and part of the India's DPI endeavors in lending space, right? So this was with respect to transactions, the UPI, and the ULI is mostly related to the credit lending and to make the lending process more smoother, right? So what does the ULI platform does? It enables the lenders, especially the banks and all the financial institutions, NBFCs included, to access high quality verified data from the government ministries and the departments directly on a single platform, where it facilitates easier and faster inclusive credit guarantee for the people, right? The credit delivery. So what it basically does is, I'm talking about a particular platform which integrates all the data, all the informations of the lenders, right, in a unified platform, which makes it easier for the lenders, especially the financial institutions, to collect these data to ensure faster and more inclusive credit guarantee or credit delivery, right? And this particular initiative aims to be for credit what UPI is for payments. Much like what UPI did for the payment infrastructure in India, this ULI is trying to bring that transformative change with respect to the credit sector or with respect to loans in India. Because as we can see, the major problem with India is the disbursement of loan and how easy the disbursement of loans or credit guarantee is for certain sections. If you see the MSMEs, right, the majority number of contribution, the major contribution to the Indian economy is from the MSME sector. But if you also see, this is also one of the sector to which credit guarantee or credit is not rolled out that fluently or that efficiently. Most of the MSEs depend on informal sector. Why? Because of the lack of easier and faster transition or easier or faster availability of loans due to various reasons. And one major reason is because of not having a simplified platform, or even you can call the hassle of getting the documents, the collection of documents for the lenders, right, or to ensure credit worthiness of a lender, or of a borrower. So that becomes very difficult for any financial institution in this present date to make sure or to give out loans that quickly, right? So this ULI in general tries to address this particular issue. So let's see how. So what are the main features? As we said, one is to ensure a frictionless credit delivery, and especially we are talking about the loan disbursement. And Also, another important feature of this particular UI is that it is based on a consent system where the borrowers can grant lenders permission to access their financial and non-financial records. So that is very important here to keep in mind that unlike the age-old practice where the borrower does not get to know what is happening with respect to your documents, or who gets to see their document, or even for that matter they would not even be aware as to what documents are being catered or being given to the lenders, right, for the loan process and for the loan approvals and all of that. So now this particular ULI feature or ULI program, ULI scheme tries to bring another added feature which demands the borrower's consent, right? Borrower's consent for the documents that they have to furnish to the lenders, which makes it even more transparent, right? So that is also another important feature. And it also talks about having a very standardized API which enables seamless data exchange. We will see that in the next slide, the kind of data that is available on this particular platform, which makes it even more easier or seamless with respect to the accessibility with respect to data for these financial institutions. And it also, another important feature is the alternative data evaluation. So unlike the age-old practice of just depending on the CIBIL score of a borrower to see the credit worthiness of the particular person, the particular borrower, this particular ULI scheme or the program tries to check other practical aspects of a particular borrower. So they do check, or the platform which we are talking about also has details of that particular person's GST records. It also gives a track of their bill payments also. So this makes it even more practical or a more wiser way to decide the credit worthiness of the borrower, right? So this, if you see, this particular program is more practical and more realistic than the age-old practice of just checking the CIBIL score based on how good the repayment of the particular person is, because at the end of the day even banks are very concerned with respect to their NPAs. So NPA crisis is one of the still ongoing issue with respect to Indian banking sector, and any bank wouldn't want their NPA levels to rise up. And so obviously the only factor to decide a particular borrower's credit worthiness was to check the CIBIL. So now this platform tries to integrate everything with respect to a customer, with respect to the borrower, even including their utility bills, GST records, gives an actual scenario as to what the person who is coming to take the loan is like, right? So that is the greatest advantage of this particular platform. And moving forward, these are the sources from which the ULI platform collects data from. Now if you see land record systems, right, even this is also integrated in the platform. You have the GSTN data where it fetches all the GST filings of that particular consumer. Even it talks about having authentication and verification enabled platforms or documents like you have your Aadhaar card, eKYC, eSign, PAN validation, everything is integrated. So this becomes easier for any financial organization, financial institution to proceed or process the loan documents sooner and faster because of the availability of all the documents here. Because anybody who has gone to banks just to get a loan sanctioned would know the difficulty of getting the documents verified, especially with respect to land records and all of it. You have to file different applications in various departments to get all these data and then take it to the bank physically, and there the bank verifies, and then further the documentation process itself takes about 2 to 3 weeks, after which the loan gets sanctioned. So now having this particular platform which has all of these platforms integrated in a single platform makes sure that the loan disbursement would not take more time, right? So that was the main initiative. So now if you see, even house property search data, everything is included in this, right? So this makes it easier both for the lender and also the borrower, right? So now what are the advantages, the benefits of this particular scheme? Obviously it is to increase the financial inclusion in the country, especially for the rural borrowers and the small businesses, as we were talking about the MSME sector, and their contribution to the country. It is way more than what the other sectors are actually doing. In fact, the MSMEs are like the backbone of India's economy, but they are also kind of facing a lot of problem. More than 50 to 60% of the MSME sectors still in India rely on the informal lending, right? So then that becomes a very problematic thing. So talking about informal lending, the only problem is with the repayment, the very high interest rates, right? And no all those things. The problems with respect to MSMEs are countless, right? So hence this tries to bring more inclusivity in terms of adding more borrowers from the rural areas and even from the small business field into the formal credit ecosystem. Then improved transparency, we spoke about it, right? It promotes transparency in the financial transactions and even with respect to the documents that are catered by the borrowers to the lenders. And also this ensures to reduce fraud and inefficiencies in the entire system. It talks about reduced loan processing costs, right? As I said, just to get documents from various departments, for example, even for a housing loan, right? In order to get a house loan sanctioned, you need to get the documentations, the form 3, etc., from the local government, the municipality, and everything. So everywhere you have to go, and all the by the intermediaries that you have to pass, the cost that incurs, the time that gets wasted, is all cut down by this one process. Trust me, this particular initiative will be like a breakthrough in the entire Indian system of DPI, which kind of will be absolutely beneficial for the entire nation, right? So this majorly reduces the cost and the time incurred by the borrowers during the loan processes and everything. So that is also one important thing. Then it talks about the enhanced credit access, where it simplifies the loan processes for MSMEs and the farmers, providing timely access to credit, which is self-explanatory in nature. Now, but still, what are the challenges? Because here we are talking about integrating such humongous data into a single platform, and from various departments, various ministries, obviously becomes problematic. It is not a small thing, it is not a small data, and considering the demography of India, considering the population of India, it is not a simple task at all. And the first point obviously talks about it, integration of multiple data sets, right? Bringing together land, property, ownership records from various departments and from various state governments, which is very complex, because each and every state government has their own particular rules and regulations. So this, with different formats, different standards, different type of notifications, levels of detail, makes it very difficult, and it is not an overnight thing which can be implemented or happened in a one particular month or a year. That is what the major drawback is. Next is the digitization gap. So most of the states or most of the people today still have their land records or the property records in the physical format, right? So now that becomes very difficult, because now updating it to the electronic version, the updated version, and then at the end of the day again getting it converted from the physical form, later trying to upload it or gather it to the centralized platform that we are talking about, becomes very difficult, especially when we are talking about having a centralized database, right? So that is another drawback. Then data privacy and security, because we are talking about land records, so many important documents of a particular person. So the problem with the data breach is obviously there, and it is also important to keep in mind the proactive necessary actions taken by the government in order to ensure that the data breach doesn't happen, or the misuse or the breaches of the people's important documents has to be taken care, which is presently there is no clear picture as to what is going to happen, right? So that is one more thing. Then it talks about multi-stakeholder coordination, right? Effective implementation of this particular program, at least nationwide, talking about a unified platform, requires a constant coordination between central and the state departments in order to get those documents, or in order for that coordination, and also it includes the coordination of the local authorities, right, and the financial institutions as well, right? So this is kind of very problematic, and this is pretty much the first point that it tries to explain. Now, aligning with the existing schemes, also it is very important to keep in mind that each and every segment that we're talking about, land, property, ownership records, has its own particular schemes, right? So whatever we are trying to bring in this particular ULI platform, it should make sure that it brings harmony to all the other platforms also, the existing schemes and platforms also, making sure that it avoids duplication of effort and ensures resources are used efficiently. Okay, so I hope it is very kind of clear as to what this transformative change is trying to bring to the country, or what's on the plate. It's very huge, very effective, very transformative. So at the end of the day, it is very important to keep in mind that this particular scheme, the program of the government, aims to redefine how credit is accessed and delivered in India, which becomes very important, especially when India is trying to become, having such, transformative, very having very ideological ideas with respect to how the India should grow, becoming, trying to be the largest economy. I think this particular initiative is like a path forward, or has opened doors. So it is important to also leverage technology and trusted data sets for inclusive lending in order to make sure the proper implementation of the ULI scheme happens. And also, not just that, equal participation from all stakeholders. I'm talking about the governments, the state governments, the local authorities are absolutely required. Else, it is absolutely a no point when we are talking about something very transformative and very effective, right? So if implemented effectively, ULI can become the UPI of credit delivery. Is very important, right? So anyway, I hope the scheme ULI, the ULI program is absolutely clear as to what that is. So anyway, that is all for this particular video. So for more such informative content, so please do subscribe to Believers IAS YouTube channel, and signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.